Brent Stewart has joined us. He's the founder of Stewart Law Offices, been in existence for 30 years. Congratulations.
Thank you, I think.
All right, we're going to be talking about workers' comp, and we've got some questions here. If you think you've been hurt on the job, Brent, when should you reach out to an attorney?
All right, well, so attorneys, not just myself, all of us offer free consultations. So it doesn't hurt to call and talk to an attorney, all right? Look online, find an attorney that you're happy with, read the reviews. There are a lot of companies out there that kind of connect you with lawyers, but that kind of gives up your ability to hire a specific lawyer. So I would look online, look at the specific firm and get the reviews of the lawyers and give them a call. You can call 2 or 3. It's not going to cost you money. And then when you feel one that you feel comfortable with, you can either hire them or you can just listen to the advice of the ones you've talked to.
So once you've decided on your attorney, what's the first step? And kind of walk us through that whole process of the investigation of the claim and all of that, which gets very complicated and confusing.
The first thing that we do is we sit down with the client, whichever way they want, whether it's online, whether it's in person, however they want it done. And I like to get a description of how the accident occurred, all right, to make sure that it is a compensable accident. From there, I like to go back and find out, do you have a pre-existing injury? Because if you have a pre-existing injury, you can still bring your claim, but we want to make sure that you tell the insurance company, the medical providers, everything that you have this pre-existing condition. The reason that's important is if you go and claim a back injury, but you don't tell the doctor you had 3 years ago had a back problem. If you don't tell the other lawyer 3 years ago you had the back problem. So the doctor is totally locked in. This work-related accident caused a back problem. The other side goes up and says, did they tell you 3 years ago their back hurt? It can really jar your case. But if you tell the doctors up front, they can determine whether it's a new injury or if it's an aggravation of your pre-existing injury. In either way, you're good. But a good medical chronological timeline is important.
Now, do they work with their own doctors or do you refer them to a specific doctor? I was just wondering.
Well, both of those happen.
Okay.
The workers' comp has the right to control all the treatment. So they will send you to where you want to go. If we get to a point where you're released and we don't agree with what they're saying your end result is, we can send you to an independent medical evaluation, which is another doctor to evaluate, should she be released? What are her injuries? How do they affect her ability to do certain things? We can also hire an independent medical if they say they recommend surgery and the person doesn't really want surgery. We can get a second opinion to see if there's any less drastic measures. So there are times to use independent medicals, but you have to kind of do those on a case-by-case basis.
And how long does this, seems like a very complicated process, how long does all of this investigation take and consultation with you all and then the employer?
And that is impossible to say because the goal with workers' comp is to get you to what's called maximum medical improvement. That is to get you as good as you're going to get, that more medical treatment won't get you any better. There may still be medical treatment you need in the future that keeps you level and able to work, but we don't want to settle your case until you're at MMI, maximum medical improvement, because that's where we know what your impairments are, how it's going to affect your job. If we settle too early before that, the next day we could find out, oh my gosh, she needs a surgery that we didn't include in our settlement. So we could lose value. So the timeline depends on your healing process.
And the damages could be medical treatment, rehab, a portion of your lost wages perhaps?
You can get, while you're out of work, you get 2/3 of your average weekly wage, which is determined by the statute. We put the numbers down, we divide it by the number of weeks work, and that's your average weekly wage. Then 2/3 of that is what you get for workers' comp. And you get that while you're out of work.
Okay. And is that a South Carolina code or law?
It is a South Carolina code of law. It's similar in North Carolina with 2/3 of your wages. But everything is set out in the South Carolina code.
Okay, very good. That's why we need an attorney to drill down and siphon out all this information. Thank you, Brent. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brent Stewart with Stewart Law Offices once again.